On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. I'm Dominic Damaski.
And I'm David Fedor. Join us as we explore the fun things to do on and off the trails of Western Pennsylvania.
And remember, your next adventure is just a biker hike away. Dave, could you tell me exactly where we're at today?
I can't tell you exactly where we're at because today's a spooky episode. We're in the woods of Western Pennsylvania, and we're focusing on the paranormal, the unexplained, the cryptids, the sightings.
And if we're going to talk about sightings, we have a legend with us. We got Mr. Stan Gordon. He's been on Unsolved Mysteries. Come on.
Every single sighting around this area goes through you. Stan, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Bikes and Hikes.
Thanks so much for having me on the program.
So this area is well known for things like Kecksburg, things like Mothman, things like Bigfoot. There's sightings and so much. Why is this a hub of activity here in Western Pennsylvania?
Well, historically it always has been, and we know from accounts from years ago that the Native Americans talk about strange things going on. There's 1,800 newspaper accounts talking about the wild man of the woods, so they called it that long before Bigfoot. So sightings have been going on for years and years. My hotline's been open since 1969.
Oh, let's put that number right here. If you see a sighting, call Stan.
And I'm getting freaked out just thinking about all this, so I think we need to get into the woods and explore.
Yeah, I definitely want to check stuff out because I know I have questions that I have no answers for. I've seen things and I've experienced things. So, Stan, you want to go on a little bit of a bikes and hikes hunt with us?
Sure, let's go into the woods.
Let's do it.
All right, Stan, thanks for coming into the woods with us. What we wanted to do while we're here is ask you for your expert opinion. We're biking and hiking, we're going through woods and things like that. You have found Bigfoot prints. You have seen things. You haven't seen a Bigfoot, but
That's correct.
But we want to know if we're out there or if the viewers are out there, what are some of the things we should look for while we're walking through the woods? And let's walk through the woods while we do.
What kind of materials we might need to have? Should I have flashlights with me? Water? Are they fast? Do I need to run? What?
Well, I've been doing this 63 years. I have yet to see a Bigfoot. I've interviewed hundreds of people here in Pennsylvania who said they have seen them, even this year. Many in daylight at close range, so they're very detailed reports. Very credible people from all walks of life, men, women, children, police officers, many hunters and outdoorsmen. And a lot of these people I interviewed are people who spend years out in the woods, never believed the stories, would never believe it until they saw it themselves. And for many people, it was a life-changing experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
I read that there's 10,000 credited sightings of Bigfoot.
Well, I can't say that many reports. I don't know. I've received many reports over the years of all kind of phenomena, Bigfoot sightings and other strange creatures people claim to see in Pennsylvania. And many of these, again, are credible reports, but a lot of cases we can explain. There's misidentifications, but there are very, very detailed accounts. We've actually had people who've been as close as 5 foot away from a Bigfoot, believe it or not. They walked out right in front of their car and stood in front of their vehicles. And so they're very, very detailed accounts. People describe from top to bottom, from head to toe. And with my research teams, we had scientific teams for years investigating cases in Pennsylvania. We were on the scene within minutes after many cases over the years, especially in the massive sightings during the 1970s. And we made many casts of footprints, and we saw a lot of other interesting evidence. One thing we found in more recent years in areas around Armstrong County, I believe Fayette County, Westmoreland, where we were getting reports from people there of hearing screams and cries and having something strange being seen running through the woods. We found trees maybe 12, 14 feet off the ground, young, healthy trees with the branches just twisted, where the rest of the tree was fine. And it didn't appear to be any type of weather anomalies that would have created that. So that's interesting. But of the hundreds of Bigfoot sightings I've investigated in Pennsylvania over the years, these creatures, whatever they are, they seem to be interested in human activity. But for them to go after somebody and actually hurt somebody, I can't think of any cases that I documented where this ever happened. They seem to be curious. Generally, when they're seen, they usually turn and run off. So that's very common.
Wow. I started researching all I could, and one, your name comes up everywhere. Stan's got books. He's been in movies. When I researched a little about Kecksburg, and it said Kecksburg Detective Stan Gordon. And you were on Unsolved Mysteries, too.
Oh, yeah. I've had a lot of calls over the years and requests to do programs. The whole reason of me getting involved in this is I started this when I was a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I've never seen a UFO or Bigfoot. I was a young kid interested in science and electronics, and I happened to hear a radio show one night talking about unusual happenings, and I started wondering, these people making these stories up, are they telling the truth? So I go to the Greensburg Library, started reading all the books they had on the subject. That's how it began for me. I was 16 years old when the incident happened near Kecksburg, December 9, 1965.
So how far is that from here? From Greensburg, that's what, like maybe
12 miles. Yeah.
We gotta go.
Man.
What are you doing later on today? Maybe we need to go.
All right, let's get to Kecksburg.
Yeah. Oh.
When we search the internet and it says Kecksburg Detective, and we have Stan Gordon with us, we got to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as we're walking through the woods here, we're coming up on this tree that is knocked over.
It's not what we're talking about. With the a healthy tree, 12, 14 feet high that's twisted. This is a completely different scenario. You can tell what caused this.
All right, so we don't need to be calling Stan for trees like that.
No, we don't. Now, if you've got any good footprints, especially we like to see the ones in the snow. That's interesting. And again, here's another part of the Bigfoot mystery. And again, when I got involved investigating Bigfoot back in the 60s, I'm out in the field investigating cases here in Pennsylvania. I was of the opinion, as so many people were, that Bigfoot is probably some type of unknown primate, some type of unknown animal. Mm-hmm. But as the outbreak occurred in '73, and since then, and even in the last couple of years, we have some very unusual cases. I mean, we've had incidents with Bigfoot and UFOs seen together at the same time and place. We had that famous case in 1973 when the state police called my team up that night when they had a huge UFO landed on the ground, seen by multiple witnesses, and 2 Bigfoot standing in the field at the same time. And there have been many other instances now, not only in Pennsylvania, but around the country and around the world. And I am not suggesting that Bigfoot is a passenger in a spaceship from another planet, because we don't know for sure what we're dealing with. But for a lack of a better term, as strange as it sounds, there is more and more data indicating that what we're dealing with is far beyond our present scientific understanding. But we may be dealing with something that's, for a lack of a better term, is interdimensional. There's a physical and a non-physical component to it. And the strange story that I talk about was in February '74, one of the stranger cases where you had a woman heard this commotion on a little front porch way in the mountains up by a high pile. She thought it was a pack of wild dogs. She loads her 16-gauge double-barrel shotgun, opens the door, and 6 feet in front of her, here's this huge Bigfoot standing there with put his arm straight up over its head. When she turned the porch light on, what does she do? She fires right into it with her 16-gauge double-barrel shotgun. There's this bright flash of light, and it physically vanishes and disappears right in front of her. And a short time later, there's this large luminous object hovering over the woods at the same time, and she wasn't the only witness. That was one of other cases that suggest that whatever it is we're dealing with, it's not a normal flesh and blood animal. It's something much stranger, which we don't understand, and for lack of a better term, I'll call it interdimensional. And that's why there's no bodies.
That would make sense. And yeah, there's
no bones,
disappearing, no bones, and everything like that. Yeah, wow.
You know what's interesting about you telling that story like that? When I had an aunt that lived out near Kecksburg, and my dad, for years, he used to tell a story, and I always thought he was just trying to scare us. But he said, like, one time around the same time, something jumped out from onto my aunt's car and made her crash out there. And yeah, I just assumed my dad's messing with me, trying to get me to behave in the back seat. But
And let me tell you this. I heard stories from at least the 60s out in that area of people seeing these huge hairy creatures walking out in front of cars. Yeah. Okay. There have been sightings within walking distance of Kecksburg of Bigfoot in more recent years. Yeah. Okay. There have been sightings right in this area where we're filming right now. there have been many sightings since at least the 70s, all throughout, not far from here, of people have seen Bigfoot.
Here at Twin Lakes?
Well, I'm not in Twin Lakes, but I'm saying
okay.
within miles of here, walking from here. So like a Luxor, up around Donahue Road, all around, and miles around there have been reports from people for years of things being seen around here.
Dave started a thing called, what'd you call it, goosebump check on, that's how I feel. I think that
Goosebump moments.
Goosebump moments, yeah. We're in the woods, it's darker than it should be, and
yeah, today is the first day of fall, so we're starting to get that chill in the air. It's starting to get that nice thing, so we're getting leaves changing. They're falling from the trees, so maybe we'll be able to see through a little bit more. And what is this weird structure? I know this isn't I know this isn't
Right.
Bigfoot related, but that's interesting nonetheless.
there used to be an old bridge down here you could run across.
Ah, okay. All right, Dominic, what do you say we head to Kecksburg?
I think that's a good idea.
You have a couple?
Yeah, I can do it.
We have some
Yeah,
time
we'll
today?
go. I just told my wife we're on our way.
Awesome.
Okay, let's go.
All right, Dominic, we're here. We're at the Kecksburg Acorn.
It's there, it's real, it's awesome.
Yeah. So, Stan, tell us a little bit about what happened here. 1965, streak in the sky, lots of people saw, government came and took something away, and everybody's saying it looks like something like that, right?
Well, it's a long story. Yeah, that was based on some eyewitness descriptions, and the object they saw was kind of an acorn-shaped, kind of an off-gold bronze color. And but anyhow, the story is, it was December 9, 1965. I was 16 years old when the incident happened. I was listening to KDK radio that evening, and it was the talk show was called Contact, and the host of the show was Mike Levine, but he had a special guest on who had written some books on unusual happenings, and I wanted to hear what he had to say. And almost the entire show was focused on this breaking news story of this brilliant fiery object was seen from Ontario, Canada, over Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania.
So it was almost like it was actually happening in real time. People were seeing this, reporting it, and talking about it.
Well, actually, it happened a little bit earlier than the show. The show was on earlier that evening. It happened around 4:47 p.m. over the Pittsburgh area that afternoon, just as it was getting dark. Whatever the object was, it reportedly came in over the greater Pittsburgh area, moved out into Westmoreland County. What I later learned, tracking down multitudes of witnesses over many years, is that the object came in over the city of Greensburg, moved out towards Route 30 East, made a turn to the south, and was observed by numerous people in those communities, such as around Pleasant Unity and Norvelt. And it moved outside of Kecksburg and moved out towards the mountains of Laurelville. I was told it kind of hesitated over the mountain, turned back, began to track back again outside of Kecksburg, made another turn, then dropped down into the Wooded Ravine.
So it wasn't like a meteor would come into the atmosphere and streak and go. This thing actually had a guided path and moved and turned and wow.
And there were witnesses all along that path. And the thing was moving relatively slowly and appeared as though it was actually slowing down a little before it fell. And as it's coming within this area, closer, you're not just seeing just a fiery object. Again, dependent on the witnesses where they were positioned at in comparison to the object. In some cases, it came right over the heads of some of the observers, and they were seeing a solid object that was encompassed in flames.
Wow.
And the witness who saw it go down said it didn't come down at a high rate of speed. It came down almost like it made a controlled landing. And what we didn't know at the time was, but I tracked down some of these people years later, that some of the local people saw it go down. They went down into the woods right after it fell. And that's when they came across this large metallic acorn-shaped object semi-buried in the ground. It's about 10 to 12 feet in length, about 8 to 10 feet in diameter, a solid metallic object shaped like an acorn. On the raised up back of it, they said there were unusual markings that looked more like symbols and writing, but there was no weld marks, no seams, no rivet marks. The one witness, who was a volunteer fireman who was not from Kecksburg at the time. He came in later as a part of the search team looking for a possible downed aircraft in the area because of reports coming in. And he was a machinist all his life. And he said it looked like somebody took liquid metal and poured it into an acorn-shaped mold. It was very interesting.
Wow.
Let's get a little closer and you can tell us what some of this stuff means and how accurate the size is and stuff.
Yeah, because we could see on this replication. Now, this was made for Unsolved Mysteries, right? This was
Yes, that was the
the
replica, and that's the
replica.
mock-up of the object, and they gave that to the volunteer fire department here at Kecksburg.
And they have the weird symbols on the side that could be like markings, identification marks, could be language, could be
Well,
what do we think? What's the theory?
Again, we don't know for sure. Nobody knows exactly what the markings look like. The symbols are all from memory.
Okay.
But the one young volunteer fireman who was standing only a few feet away from it, he said over the years after it happened, because he was so interested in what he saw, tried to figure out what it was, he went to different libraries and looked up different ancient languages. He said it looked something similar to ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Wow.
What do you think about these people who say that it was like a Russian, that's during the Cold War and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. Well, there have been multitudes of theories for years, from the time it happened up to more recent years, and the theories are all interesting, but nobody's really come up with any definitive proof of what this thing was. I always keep an open mind to all possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I said years ago, it could have been some very advanced, very secretive man-made project with some type of reentry control capability. But then there's a lot of things we've known and learned about the case, and we have to keep an open mind. And I think we could not have ruled out it could be something from outside the Earth. We just don't know. We may never know for sure. Whatever it was interesting enough for the government to respond very quickly, because multitudes of witnesses that night, including reporters from all over the Pittsburgh area, saw military trucks or saw military personnel. Some interacted with them here at the scene. There's no doubt the military was here. I later learned that the object was transported from here on a large military flatbed tractor trailer with a tarp over it. It went to Lockbourne Air Force Base near Columbus, Ohio during the early morning of the next day, December the 10th. It stayed there a short time, then went on to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And where's that today? We just don't know.
So they wouldn't show up for nothing. So
Well-
they saw it, they knew something was going on, they came, and whether it was a satellite, whether it was a meteor, whether it was some sort of Cold War thing, whether it was an alien, that was something that they definitely wanted.
Well, apparently it was something of great interest for them to send the military personnel, and there was quite a lot from what we heard from people who were here at the scene.
And
a lot
so
of
fast
yeah.
when it happened.
Yeah, in fact, right behind us, there is the truck station. Part of that is still the original truck station, which we were told that the military used as a temporary command post that night. That we talked to many of the people who lived in the town right behind there, who saw the military, the soldiers all through this area. They all said armed soldiers, and you just don't send armed soldiers out looking for meteorites.
And now in Kecksburg right here, this is where they have UFO and Bigfoot Fest, right?
Well, they have the annual Kecksburg UFO Festival every year in July. It's bigger and bigger every year. I'd say the one we just had this past year was probably maybe the biggest they ever had. There were thousands of people here, and many came in from around the country. So there's a huge interest in the case, and there's a huge fascination by the public now into UFOs and Bigfoot. People want answers. They want to know what's going on out there. And there's a lot of activity. Again, the last couple of years, this year, right through the last few weeks, all through this area, all through Western PA, we've had UFO sightings. We had some Bigfoot activity earlier in the year. A lot of strange things are going on, so a lot of people wanted some answers.
In terms of sightings, aliens, things that happen, you look at any top 10 list, Kecksburg is usually always on that list. This is like one of the big ones in the country, maybe even the world.
Well, it's a very intriguing case, and again, it's unidentified. We still don't know for sure what it was. We're not saying it's from another planet. We don't know. That's a possibility. But it's a case that's very well documented. There were so many witnesses involved, and there's so much documentation on it. There's no doubt something fell, was recovered by the military. The question is, what was it?
Yeah, so with all the stuff that's becoming declassified with the government lately, the past couple of years, they're being more open about footage and documents and things like that. Are we ever going to get any kind of footage from this? Because wait, didn't all the records disappear and stuff at some point?
Oh, it's a long, long story, and over the years we filed for a lot of FOIA reports on it. The only thing we did find, a fellow named Ray Boucher back years ago, he found the Project Blue Book report on it.
Okay.
And it actually is listed under Acme, PA, not Kecksburg.
Oh, wow.
And I believe the reason for that is I found out that an Air Force officer interviewed some family members that live within walking distance near here from where the object fell, but they had an Acme mailing address, and Kecksburg's under Mount Pleasant Township. So I think that's where that came up, but there was an interesting report. Yeah.
So people from all over the world travel here to take selfies in front of this acorn. So, you know, Dominic, you and I and Stan, we got to take a selfie in front of this bad boy. All right. There's a UFO store here.
It's hooked to a bar. You go through the bar to the UFO store. How cool is that?
Well, that's the Kecksburg Volunteer Fire Department. That's their club. And of course, it's the Kecksburg Fire Department that sponsors the Kecksburg UFO Festival every year. And one of the reasons is because some of the Kecksburg firemen, the fire department, was involved with the incident that night.
And this store, actually, the proceeds go to help the fire department, right?
Oh yeah, they're a very active fire department and EMS service here. And so this is helpful to them. So
Look at this. I see what I want. This hat right here.
Oh, yeah.
UFO, home of UFO, Kecksburg.
Well, I'm getting one of these books. And then, Stan, you're going to sign this for me, right?
glad to sign it for you, sure.
Awesome. We have one more stop today.
This here is a really interesting stop. We're entering Bavard, and we just passed through the Crow's Nest Tunnel, and a lot of unexplained weird stuff goes on here. So we definitely need to talk about that.
Well, first, I do want to mention that this is a very narrow, small tunnel. Only one car could barely fit. Our Armstrong van almost had a little bit of trouble going through here. So as cars pass, they have to beat their horn to make sure that there's no heads-on collisions.
Now, I do want to say, when I was young, a kid rode a shopping cart down the hill through that tunnel. That's unexplainable, too.
And I used to ride my bicycle out here when I was a kid.
So you know from way back,
Yeah.
all kinds of things happen.
We have dueling beeps right now.
We could have just done a whole episode right here of cars honking back and forth.
So Stan, this area is a hotbed for activity. There's some stuff that's happened around here, right?
Well, over the years we have, just down the road a couple miles is Luxor, PA, and there's been a history of Bigfoot activity around there over the years. And actually just several months ago, we're getting reports in different areas in the afternoon and daylight of large, bright, cigar-shaped object in the sky that just suddenly vanished and disappeared. And one case happened on Route 30 just as you came onto Donahue Road, so right down from where we are, and a fellow was at the red light, and he notices this large cigar-shaped object hovering, and he said all of a sudden it just vanishes and it was gone.
Well, it's weird coming down here because you pass that cemetery and it's a little spooky, and then you get to this very narrow tunnel. And then, Dominic, you said up this trail right here, there's something going on up there?
Yeah, so here's what drove me to this place. Besides the cool tunnel, there was a Crow's Nest mine here, a Crow's Nest mine. And this is back early 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s. And there was about 10 deaths at the mine, different ways, falls off roofs, into the mine shafts, things like that. So a lot of people talk about ghostly presences here. And then when Stan started talking about all the things going on in this area, I'm like, uh-oh, we need to get him here. And what is going on in those woods, in this tunnel, that kind of thing.
Something about this area, something's going on here.
And we got the expert.
And we have the expert.
Hey, one more thing I wanted to tell you. So there's a rumor that in this tunnel, if you come there at midnight and you say, Rosemary, 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 Rosemary appears.
Here at this tunnel?
Yeah, this tunnel at midnight. Now, you gotta make sure nobody's honking their horns and things like that, but midnight right there.
Stan, does this sound like something that's...
I haven't heard that story before. I've heard a lot of alleged hauntings. I mean, I'm interested in them. That's not my main focus. But you hear a lot of interesting tales from around this area.
Oh, man. Dominic, you know what we're going to have to do?
I think we're gonna do it.
We're going to have to come back here at midnight and shout the Rosemary into this tunnel.
Let's do it. We gotta do it. Okay.
Awesome. Stan, what are you doing tonight at midnight?
Probably sleeping.
There will be a knock on Stan's door. Wait, that's not Bigfoot, that's Dave.
Awesome. Well, Stan, thank you for your time today.
Okay,
all your
you.
information is incredible. You got a new book out. Where can people find? It's called Creepy.
It's Creepy Cryptids and Strange UFO Encounters of Pennsylvania. It's available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Dave, what are you doing, man? What are we doing here?
All right, we have the cones up to be safe. We have the lights on so that we could see. Why are we here in the middle of the night? It's starting to rain. You brought your daughter.
Bad judgment 101. This is a tunnel that's black as night, and you know what I was thinking?
What were you thinking?
I thought maybe I'll film from this side, you film from the other side, and we send Maddie through by herself.
All right. There's a train coming too. Oh my God! Ah!
Such a horrible idea.
Oh my God! That's crazy.
That's some Final Destination stuff right there.
You saw that, right? That was an actual train.
Out of nowhere.
See, that's your guys' sign for me to hold the camera. My dad runs through.
I'm not sure you really should go in there, Maddie.
I say it should be like a father-daughter thing, you know?
Oh, there we go.
So that if we die, mom has no one to be mad at.
What's weird, so the theory behind this, Maddie, was there was a mine up over here, the Crow's Nest Mine, and there was a lot of deaths, mysterious deaths, people falling, people getting crushed, and we're just talking like a couple 100 yards from here. So if you go out into the middle of this tunnel at midnight and you say that thing 3 times,
Rosemary, Rosemary, Rosemary!
I'm getting set up.
Sorry, Dominic was spouting facts, and I couldn't wait anymore, so I had to yell it.
I mean, it is creepy in
It
here.
is very creepy. It's echoey. If it wasn't so dangerous, I would want to be here in the complete darkness. But, you know.
Well, you can go ahead a couple 100 yards. Oh my goodness. You are right in the middle. That's right where they say, Dave. Here, I really, I don't think it's right. We can't make Maddie do it alone. I'm not going to make you do it alone, but I think we need to try this here. Let's get closer.
Okay, we're right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Oh my God, can you just do it?
Can we, on the count of 3? Yeah. Rosemary.
Wait, you didn't count to 3.
Oh, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Rosemary, Rosemary, Rosemary.
Where's Dave?
Oh my goodness. There's no light at all. Absolutely no light, and Dave's gone.
What happened to your life?
We yelled Rosemary, 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 and all the lights went out at one time.
Even your lights?
I don't know.
You guys didn't leave me, did you?
We're on the other side, Dave.
Seriously, where you at, dude?
I'm right here.
There he is.
Are your lights still on? Yeah.
All right, I'm coming through.
Okay, coast is clear, but it's dark as night over here.
Oh, man. That is so crazy. It is so crazy running out here in the dark.
Dave, this whole episode has been as paranormal as can be.
I'm a little weirded out, to be honest. Stuff from Stan earlier today to running through a darkened tunnel yelling Rose, like
Lights all going out. I don't even have any more notes. I got no more notes.
for it to leave you speechless is an accomplishment.
Right. That's
And
it.
and you brought your daughter here. What's the matter with you?
Dad fell. Do not do what I do.
Yeah, don't try this at home for real. It's dangerous out here. It's dark, and there may or may not be scary
Rosemary.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks to Stan Gordon for showing us around and tipping us off and some awesome stuff in this area. And yeah, have fun with the spooky season.
Yeah, and remember this. Memories are just a bike, hike, or creepy tunnel away.
Rosemary, Rosemary, Rosemary!